Good evening, my little guzzlers. So, tonight we're getting smothered. Well, actually, we're not, the chicken is. We're having smothered chicken. Okay, so this is a way of cooking the chicken to keep it nice and moist. And you'll find there's a whole variety of recipes for doing this. But we're doing it this way. Okay, so we've got some chicken thighs. Okay, we've got some flour. I've got about 150 grams of flour. That's here and there because it's mainly for coating and a little bit to add in later. Okay, and then we've got 2 teaspoons of granulated dried garlic, a teaspoon of paprika, preferably smoked paprika, but Tesco's didn't have any, so they sent paprika. 2 teaspoons of oregano, half a teaspoon of chili powder, an onion, which we're going to chop up fairly roughly, a few cloves of garlic, not cloves of garlic, 460 mils of chicken broth, 115 grams of heavy cream, that's just heavy whipping cream, a pinch of chili flakes, crushed chili flakes, dried chili flakes, 2 tablespoons of butter, thereabouts, salt and pepper, and then a bit of parsley garnish. Now this takes a little bit of prep, and then it'll be an hour in the oven, so you want to put your oven on and get it up temperature 220. So let's get smothering. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take that dried garlic, put it in a little dish or bowl, the paprika, the oregano, and the chili powder. Okay, and that's going to be our spice mix, which we're going to coat the chicken with as such, and also we'll add to the flour that we're going to then coat the chicken with. So I've just mixed it together. Okay, so what we then do is we take a bowl and we take a couple of chicken thighs and we put them into the bowl, and then we take a little sprinkle of that mix, okay, and then we take the other thighs. So this is just a pack of thighs, okay, and then some weird little thigh. He obviously worked out a bit funny, this chicken, because it's got one big thigh and one little thigh. Right, and then we take a little bit more of this and we sprinkle that over. Should have done this the other way around, so I'm using the wrong hand to spoon this out and already spilled it. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're now just going to sort of turn this chicken all over. Okay, and then we're now going to sprinkle some more over. Okay, and then again all we're going to do is just sort of turn it all around, get it all nicely covered. All over. I'm just going to add another little bit, okay, and we're just going to make sure that that chicken is all nicely coated. So I'm just going to put that to one side and wash my hands. Right, so just a final little finishing touch with that chicken. Just going to add some pepper and some salt, and then we're just going to put that to one side. And we pick up that bowl of flour, 150 grams of flour. We put the remaining spice mix in there, and again we add some salt and some pepper, and then basically I'm just going to whisk this through, and this will be the coating for the chicken. Now, being that we bought thighs, it seems that it's not a problem getting skin on, right, when you buy thighs. Every time I buy these breasts, they're skinless breasts. But these have got the skin on, so we're going to try and get the skin nice and crispy, although once we've smothered it and cooked it that way, it's not necessarily going to be so crispy. So that's got that mixed in there. So we're almost ready now to coat our chicken. Now we're going to cook it in something like a Dutch oven, as they call it, with a lid. It needs to have a lid, okay? So just put that there. So all that I've got left is my onion to chop and my garlic, but I'll do that once the chicken's starting to fry, because we've got time to do that. I've got my cream, and I've got my butter, and I've got my chili flakes there. So not much else to go in there, and we're going to be serving this, by the way, with some bread. You can serve it with whatever you like. We're going to just serve it with a bit of bread to soak up that gravy or sauce or whatever you want to call it. Well, after all that effort, I decided it was time to have a beer. So start with tonight with Tiny Rebel. This is Pump Up the Jam donut flavour. Very nice, had that before. Right, so what we can do now is we take our thighs and we dip it into the flour, and we make sure we coat every bit of it all over with the flour, and then give it a little bit of a shake off and just put it to one side. So we're going to do that with every single bit of thigh, okay? Like I say, make sure you've got all the surfaces covered in the flour. Shake off the excess and just put it by, ready for frying. Frying tonight. Just the film. Anyway, I'm going to get these coated and then I'm going to wash my hands. Now, when you're finished, by the way, don't throw the flour away, because we will use some of this flour to thicken the sauce later. Right, so I've got my pan and we want to put enough oil in there to obviously coat the bottom. Okay, we're going to be frying our chicken, so we just need enough oil in there. Let us do that. Excuse me, just a bit. So I'm going to turn the heat on, about a medium heat. Okay, and then when that's got up to temperature, what we'll do is we'll start frying off the chicken, skin side down. Now we might need, depending on how much room is in here, we might have to do it in batches. So what we do is we put it in and then put the lid on, and then just cook in there on one side, skin side first, for 5 minutes. Then we take the lid up, probably get spat out as all the moisture falls back in the fat, and then turn the chicken over and cook the other side. Again, put the lid on for 5 minutes. So again, we're not cooking it because it's going to go in the oven for an hour. This is just to get the outside seared, if you like. Doesn't make a difference keeping it in the fridge. I don't normally have it in the fridge, but I'll put that in the fridge because I was drinking it last night, some of it, and I didn't use much of it, so I'll put it in the fridge. When I say didn't use much of it, I mean I didn't use all the cans. I didn't save half a can. So it's quite a different taste. So anyway, just waiting for this to come up temperature. Not quite there yet. Like I say, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put the chicken in and put the lid on. Alright? I might come back to you when I flip it. Okay, so the chicken is had 5 minutes on one side. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're now just going to turn that chicken over. If the butter let me pick it up. Okay, and we're now just going to cook the other side again for another 5 minutes. Okay, I managed to fit all the bits of chicken in, mainly because of that purifier that's in there. So in it goes, back on that goes, another 5 minutes. So that chicken's had 5 minutes on that side. So I'm just going to over there, and we're going to take the chicken out. Okay, and I'm just going to put it onto the plate. Come here, little bugger. And we're going to leave the oil in there, and we're going to be cooking the onions. Now, while that was in there earlier, off camera, I roughly chopped the onion into sort of chunky-ish strips, and we're going to fry them in a second in this oil. So the chicken we'll just put to one side. The chicken is going to go back in here, like we said, and it's going to be cooked for an hour, so we haven't got to worry too much about keeping it warm. Okay, so that's over there. So in that oil, let me just put that down. This, like I say, this onion that I sort of chopped up chunks like that, I'm just going to put that in there, and we're now just going to fry this off in here for about 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, so let me just get that all in there. Add a little top up of the meal. Okay. So the only next thing we're going to need, obviously, in a bit is going to have garlic and them crushed chili flakes. So let me get my hands washed, and then we'll move on. Right, so them onions have cooked for a little bit and softened up a little bit. So now what we're going to do, we're going to use the garlic press for the garlic today. So let's get that in there. So I've got about 4 cloves of garlic because I like my garlic. So that's going in, and then we're just going to just stir that in and cook that for about a minute. Oh, excuse me. So like I said, you need to make sure the oven's on. Alright, what time is it? You're not going to eat tonight now. Well, that's the wife's fault. She books a bloody Zoom call. Says, oh, we've got to go on Zoom. And I said, well, what time do you want to eat? So, I don't know what that is. I think that came out of the chicken. Get rid of that, I don't know what it is. So, now we sprinkle in that pinch of crushed chili flakes. Okay, and we're now just going to cook that for a second or two, and then we take our butter. Okay, about 2 tablespoons of butter. Okay, and we're just going to melt that into the sauce. Alright, so when that's melted, I'll show you what we do next. Okay, so my butter's all melted. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that flour mix that we had earlier, and I'm just going to sprinkle in 2-3 spoonfuls of that flour. Now at this point, now we want to keep stirring. Okay, and preferably don't tip it everywhere. Okay, so we're just going to keep stirring that flour in, and we want to cook it for a few minutes, because obviously we want to cook that flour flavour out of it. We don't want it tasting floury. So that we're just going to cook that through for a few more minutes. Now you're going to need some stock. Okay, so I've got some chicken stock behind me. Okay, 460 mils of chicken stock. I'm just going to turn that heat down a bit. And what we're going to then do is we're gradually going to incorporate that chicken stock into it. Ooh, splashed. So I might just add a little bit more flour. Okay, I think I had a little bit of extra oil in there and a little bit of extra butter. So we just want to thicken that up a little bit. So we're going to cook that through. Ambidextrous here. And look, I can do it the other way around. That stir, that is. Right. So now we take our stock, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gradually add that in a little bit at a time, constantly stirring. Okay, because what we don't really want to do is get it going lumpy, which is what it's doing now. Okay, that's a sign that we need to be adding the stock. So got my hands full now, I have to keep filming. I'm just going to turn that down a little bit more. So we're gradually incorporating all that stock. You can have chicken broth, you can have chicken stock, whatever you want. Right, in that all goes. So now I'm just going to mix that all in, get that all properly mixed in with that flour and cooked in. And then our final thing we're going to add, at this stage anyway, so all we've got left in a minute is a bit of seasoning, salt and pepper, the parsley, that will go in final bit, and then we've got that cream, right? But we'll add the cream in a second when we've made sure we've got this all nicely incorporated. Right, so now while we're stirring, we're going to add in that cream. Okay, not exactly very healthy in this dish, is it? Butter, whipping cream. All right, so we're now just going to mix all that in. Okay, and we're almost ready now. Once that's all mixed in, we're going to put our chicken back in, skin side up. Okay, and then we're going to put the lid on, shove it in the oven for an hour. So, just want to make sure this is all brought up to temperature, all nicely cooked through. So, I'm going to turn the temperature off at this point, and we're now going to add that chicken back in. Okay, like I say, skin side up. Now we are going to be pouring some of that sauce over the top in a minute. So in goes the chicken. Let me just move that spoon for a minute. Come here, there's that little bit that goes in the middle, and this little blocker here goes down there. Get that out of the way for a minute. Now just spoon some of that sauce over the top. I mean, it's going to get the condensate dropping down on it anyway. So that's got in there. Lid goes on, and now that's going in the oven for an hour. Right, so that's an hour up. Let's get it out the oven. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. A bit of steam there. So out it comes. Okay, I don't know if you can hear that bubbling away. That's what I got. So, all we're going to do now is we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of chopped parsley over the top. Just get that out of the way. There's a spoon. And let's get that little bit out the middle to start with. And we get a little bit of the old sauce. Put that in there for a minute. So, cook this way, the chicken should be nice and moist, so just move the skin off. You can see in there, there's some chicken. It's all cooked through. It's obviously going to be rather hot. It's very hot. Almost comes across as a bit cheesy. On the wine, no cheese in it. So, that is your smothered chicken. So we're just going to portion out the chicken, put some sauce on the top, and we're going to serve it with a bit of bread. So there you go, smothered chicken.